Hello, my name is Jennifer Morales, and I will be discussing Chapter 11 Relationships and Romantic Partners. So, first, I want to give you a bit of an overview of what this chapter goes over. So, this chapter goes in more into depth of what romantic relationship is. It also goes more into romantic attraction, such as proximity, physical attractiveness, and similarities. It also talks about romantic development and deterioration. It also talks about the dark side of romantic relationships. And lastly, it talks about the hard work of successful love. So, what it means to be honest with your partner and what work needs to be put into the relationship in order for it to be a successful one. So, I want to start off with the first concept, which is relationship development and deterioration. So, I provided Knapp's relationship model, which is what I will be talking about. So, here we see coming together and coming apart. Each stage has 5 concepts, I want to break down for you so you can get a better understanding of the stages and how it helps a relationship specifically come together and coming apart. So let's start off with the coming together. So the first stage is initiating. So this is when someone determines if they are attracted to the other person or not. This is also when a person usually would start the conversation to meet someone. It can be done in person or online. This is what I think we would refer to as making the first move. Then the second stage is experimenting. So this would be engaging in the small talk. So disclosing information that would be considered unimportant, and usually the stage where the people try to find commonality in order to further the conversation. Also, then intensifying. So, this is once progress past the point of casually dating that person, feelings start to grow. Verbal and nonverbal communication intensifies, and so does self disclosure. So, it gets more personal and deeper. This is where secrets, goals, and life dreams will initially be shared. And lastly, for coming together, these stages are kind of when determining factor when a relationship is serious. So, integrating, this is sexual activity and exchange of belongings. So, this is most likely when the couple is living together and are in an exclusive relationship with one another. So, they're using the word us when talking to others, not just considering themselves, but both of them as one. And usually, when invited to things by friends, family, it's both of them being invited, not just one of the people in the relationship. And lastly, bonding. So, this is the ultimate stage of coming together. This is usually as an announcement to the world that each person is committed to one another. So, I would consider it to be the engagement or a wedding, but the book really describes bonding as when a wedding takes place. This is when a relationship is institutionalized and laws are involved, and more structure is given to the relationship. All right, so now that I went over the coming together, I want to go over the coming apart. So the first stage of coming apart is differentiating. So this is when people start realizing in the relationship that they have different beliefs and attitudes, values that doesn't align with the other person. This stage also happens in healthy relationships, but the difference between this happening in a healthy relationship and one that's coming apart is when a couple is able to move forward and grow from this, as opposed to this hurting their relationship and creating some potential red flags. The next concept is circumscribing. So, this is how each person responds to issues in the relationship. This is when problems are not talked about and are usually being ignored. This is also when information stops being shared and certain topics start to be avoided in order to avoid conflict. After this is stagnating. So this is when communication in our relationship about problems feels like it's becoming pointless. Issues aren't being solved, and people can usually linger in this stage for even a long time, such as months or years. Um, and it's not really a breakup, but it's also not uh, moving forward and solving issues that are being had in the relationship. So then that leads to the last final two, which is avoiding. So this is when the people are coming to realize that they cannot be around one another, and they start to distance physically. So avoiding being around one another when one's coming home from work or vice versa, and just not wanting to be around the other person at all. And then the termination stage, which this is usually this is the final, like the end. This is when people look for closure, and people in the relationship share their final thoughts. For example, such as this was a great relationship. I learned a lot, and focusing on the positive, or I can't believe I even gave you the time of day, and I spent so much time in this relationship. So it can either come or go both ways. So this is usually a very unpleasant, not easy conversation to have. But what I also thought was interesting that the book did not talk about was, it seems that the coming apart stages are very straightforward. However, with social media and dating online, it's not as linear. There can be like ghosting, which is just like cutting people off. Some people don't even get a termination stage, but that doesn't mean that the relationship is non-existent anymore. So I thought that was really interesting and something to think about. So with that being said, that leads to my other concept that is completely separate from from the chapter, which is self-disclosure. So this is an essential part of maintaining intimacy and create trust and security within the relationship. So in order to encourage that self-disclosure, all members must behave in a predictable way. So they must feel like they know that person, and that they feel like it's a safe space to share their information. And in order to maintain the intimacy, there must be mutual respect, and open conversations, so where partners feel encouraged to share that. And again, just feel like they can trust that other person. So you typically, when this is used in a relationship, is disclosing fears and vulnerabilities, sharing feelings and emotions, and their partner encourages them and supports them during this period. So self-disclosure in a relationship, I did an additional reading which kind of gave more in-depth information about this. So self-disclosure once again promotes attraction, so it's very important. It helps build sense of closeness in a relationship. If someone discloses intimate information too early on in their relationship, it can raise red flags and they can be seen as insecure. So in order for self-disclosure to work, it means that the information disclosed must be handled delicately and received in an empathetic and respectful way. Mutual disclosure is what creates trust and helps build a healthy and lasting relationship. And it's interesting, it also brought another point of online. So since there's no verbal or nonverbal cues when dating online, self-disclosure is a determining factor of closeness. And since there's a lack of communication, self-disclosure is the way of becoming intimate and growing. So which then leads me to my questions. So my first question is, share a time when self-disclosure worked in your favor. So when talking to someone, how did it work, if you're attracted to them, or when it went wrong? And second, do you feel that nap stages apply to how you would usually come together or come apart with someone? Or do you think that there are other stages that could be added or taken out? But that concludes my presentation, and thank you so much.